Now, one of the hottest spaces in the Indian startup ecosystem is the instant house help service. This is essentially startups that enable customers to get house help within minutes. One such startup is Pronto, and they have raised about $25 million in funding. I'm joined by founder and CEO Anjali Sardana to understand what they will do with the proceeds and what the growth path for Pronto looks like.
Thank you for having me today. I think our use of funds is threefold. Number one is scaling our supply or the number of professionals on our platform. Today we are deeply supply constrained. Our utilization is, by far, the highest in category, and our utilization is around 7 bookings per day per professional, which is very high today. And we've been growing at around 20% week on week for the last 3 months. And in order to continue powering that growth, we need to have more professionals on the platform. And so we're investing a lot into scaling our number of professionals very quickly. Our second use of funds is around densifying our existing micro markets, so really going deep in our existing cities. And then the third is, some amount of expansion also across, more micro markets within our existing cities.
Right, Anjali, what have those monthly as well as daily bookings been like? Because that has really been the parameter by which your competitors are sort of growing. Urban Company has hit about 50,000 daily bookings. Snabit has put about 25 to 27,000 daily bookings. Where does Pronto stand, and where do you see that growth coming from?
Yeah, so we ended February at 18,000 bookings a day, and we're continuing to grow, roughly 20% week on week. We think that by June we will be hitting, an average of 70,000 bookings a day.
Are you seeing that mainly coming from tier 1 markets, or is it also tier 2 and beyond where this growth is coming for Insta help services?
Yeah, so 50% of our demand comes from NCR, and within that, 25% of that comes from Gurgaon. I mean, in large part, this is an artifact of, the fact that we started in Gurgaon, and we were only in Gurgaon for the first 5 months of our operations. So, there is a historical bias to this data. And NCR is a bit of a stronghold for us. So it does contribute 50% of demand. The rest of demand comes, 25 or ish percent comes from Bangalore, 25%, and then Mumbai and Pune follow.
Another very important parameter, Anjali, is of course the monthly transacting users. Where do those numbers stand at for you?
Yeah, the average bookings per day, per month, per customers is around 4 for returning users and around 2 for a new user. And a new user is someone who joined the platform this month. And so that we think is a very vital metric. However, we see that the top 1% of our customers are using us 23 plus times a month, and the top 10% are using us 9 plus times a month. So there's a heavy skew towards the power user profile.
Anjali, also talk to us a bit about the sort of burn rate that this industry is going through. This is a new industry, so there will, of course, be burn rate before you establish a certain user base for these services. Where are you seeing that at right now?
Yeah. So in our first year of operations, we burned $8 million. Or rather our first year of existence, right? And so what does that mean for us? I think that burn in this category is structurally lower than in perhaps quick commerce, because in quick commerce you have to invest 70 to 80 lakhs in just opening the dark store, and you have rent of that dark store, you have a high amount of capex, maintenance capex, you have inventory that has to be purchased as well. And so I think that's a much higher investment business than our category, which is largely a variable cost business, and therefore the burn is structurally a bit lower.
Not just Pronto, but in the overall industry, where do you see these burn rates plateauing at, and where do you see that break-even stage coming in from?
It's tough to say. I think it's very much a choice when we turn on profitability versus growth. I think we are a variable cost business, and therefore we can make the choice of whether we want to, as fast as we want to grow, or if we want to be profitable. And what we've seen is in our oldest micro markets, we're seeing like very, very positive signs in terms of economics, right? So very little has to be invested in terms of continuous marketing. It's largely through organic growth, but they continue to compound. There's no fixed cost to that, and our cost per booking can stay low because utilization is quite high. And so we've seen like very strong positive signals on unit economics in our oldest micro markets.
You also shifted your base from Gurgaon to Bangalore. What was the rationale behind that, and what are the sort of benefits you're seeing now, if at all?
Yeah, there were a lot of comments online about how I shifted it due to air quality, but really I shifted it because of the tech talent. I think for us it was largely moved in terms of hiring on the engineering and product side of things, and we've seen a lot of goodness there. We've had access to an incredible talent pool in Bangalore, which isn't to say the talent isn't there in Gurgaon. It definitely is, but the depth of the pool in Bangalore is really unparalleled, and so we've had great success in hiring the team there and building it out.
Anjali, lastly, before we let you go, I'm going through your list of investors, and there's a lot of common investors between you and Zepto. What has been the sort of tips coming in from investors wherein the sort of playbook that was deployed by Zepto to build out the quick commerce business, you're also building out a new business here. Talk to us about that playbook. What are the sort of tips that you're getting from investors?
There's definitely a lot of advice which I'm able to get from our board members. I mean, Paul Hudson is our from Gladebrook is was on the board of Zepto from the very beginning, and Neeraj was also from General Catalyst was involved from the very beginning and Zepto, and they've been able to use a lot of the learnings from that journey to help us, and it's been super helpful along the way.
Right, thank you, Anjali, and congratulations on the fundraise. We hope that this instant house help service goes a very long way.
Thank you.